All right, welcome back, everyone, to our next episode of the Fantasy Variation. We've got our Week 13 preview coming at you. We also got to give us a little recap of the Lions-Colts game from last week that we went to on Sunday. So I'm here with Colin, as always. Colin, how are you doing on this Tuesday night?
Man, I'm doing good. Not gonna lie, a lot of things did not go my way this past weekend for football wise, but one thing did go well, and that's that I kicked Ryan Michaels' butt in fantasy. So got a
Yeah,
much needed win, and that's all we need right now. So how you doing?
there you go. Yeah, I guess for me, fantasy didn't end up getting a win against Ron. We ran into a buzzsaw, otherwise known as Saquon Barkley. So that was a little unfortunate on that front. But Lions were able to get a win, and it was pretty sweat free. So that was nice to see. Game was a super good time, regardless. So happy to be there. Glad we got the tickets. So it's a good time. And then yeah, just in general, doing pretty well. Excited for Thanksgiving and especially some Thanksgiving football. So I know I'm going to be on the edge of my seat already at 12:30 on Thanksgiving, and I wouldn't want it any other way. So.
There we go. Lions are breaking that curse of however many they haven't won on in a row in Thanksgiving. So
Yeah.
I'm pumped for it.
It's been 8 in a row, and the other thing I saw going around last year was the moon phase thing. When it's a waxing gibbous, we lose. No waxing gibbous this year, so we might
That's
be
huge.
all right. Yeah.
Huge. Love to hear it. Love to hear it.
We could be making moves. A lot of injuries, though, with the Lions we might talk about later in the best bet segment, so that kind of sucks, but we'll see if we can power through. We still got a pretty deep team, and I think a lot of those guys will end up playing, like Montgomery and St. Brown don't seem to be big concerns, so hopefully they're out there on Thursday and ready to go.
Definitely. Yeah, real keeping my fingers crossed Monty gets in the lineup this week. So kind of need him big time in fantasy this week.
Maybe not for fantasy. I'll still be happy for him to go off, but going to be against me, unfortunately.
That's true. Yeah, I keep forgetting we're playing each other. Huge matchup this week. But yeah, we'll dive into that in a few. But how about do you want to recap your week from Ron?
Yeah, let's go ahead and get out
maybe.
Go ahead and get out of the way real quick. So I lost this game. Pulling up the score right now. It was 162 to 101-ish. So yeah, pretty much a big blowout in that one. Like I said, Saquon Barkley had 46 points. So that was huge for him in his RB1 spot. And then also he had, 3 other players score 20-plus points. So very well-rounded game out of him, which is probably what you're always going to get going up against a team like his. And then mine, on the other hand, I only had 2 guys score 20. So not really a good game from a lot of people. I was sitting here fretting about Kyler Murray versus Anthony Richardson, and then they scored like 3 points difference, and I still lost by 60. So probably didn't need to worry about that too much in this matchup. The only thing I wanted to call out that was kind of funny was Trey McBride. He's now the tight end 3 on the year, and he has 0 receiving touchdowns. So pretty crazy. I feel like he could just have an insane fantasy playoff run if he can get a couple touchdowns in and still see this volume. So I'm still hopeful for my team. We're probably gonna have to get a win one of these last 2 weeks against you and Dean. And man, I don't want to be playing against Dean Gilberry right now. So we'll see if we can get a win in one of those games, and if not, maybe get a little lucky with the points for, because I'm still looking pretty good in the points for category. I think I'm 3rd right now out of 10. So we still have that tiebreaker over a lot of teams.
Definitely. What do you feel about Kareem Hunt and Isaiah Pacheco now? That's kind of a tough scenario. I've got the same one in another league, and it's like, man, I wish Pacheco would just stay out low key.
Yeah, it really sucks. I'm pretty sure right now I'm playing neither of them. So yeah, I think this week, assuming Pacheco does play, sorry, I'm probably not going to play either of them. What about you?
Dude, I think I'm in the same scenario. I think I have one other guy that's like just a little bit, or maybe it's Bucky Irving. Honestly, I'm playing Bucky over both of them, which I don't think that's really a bad call at all. Bucky's been good, but yeah, like I'm just like, man, Kareem Hunt's been kind of a beast for me while Pacheco's out, and it's like now I don't want to play either of them. So we'll see. Hopefully either. I don't even know what I want to happen. I mean, if Pacheco goes off, that's great, but like I still think Hunt's gonna get some action because he's been so good. But we'll see. I don't know.
Yeah, I agree. Unless you're really thin, I feel like benching both them this week's probably pretty wise. I mean, I'm even doing like Rico Dowdle over both of them, which I'm not even super high on Rico Dowdle this week. But he is at least like a starting running back on an offense that looked competent last week. So I definitely rather start that over a giant unknown out of that backfield. And it could definitely just be a 50-50 split right down the middle, which is probably not what you want in a game where the Chiefs probably aren't going to have to try super hard against the Raiders. And all their shortcomings without Minshew now even, so they're going to be in trouble.
Agreed. Yeah, I would probably go with Dowdle too, but Actually, you know what? No, I think it might go Pacheco. Maybe no, maybe Kareem Hunt. I don't know. I'm not gonna tell you. Good luck. Good luck with that one.
Thanks, man.
All right. Well, I'll recap mine this week. Scored the most points I've scored all season. Only 135, but we'll take it. Didn't have to sweat too much. I got a little lucky. Elgin's team. I think he had a few injuries. And just guys didn't go off too much. So final score was 135 to 80. I was pretty happy with. I picked up Amir Abdullah to start this week, last second, and he scored 17 for me. But then had a decent week with David Montgomery. Jaden Daniels had like I want to say like 10 points like with like 6 minutes in the fourth quarter, and then he ended up with 30. Wasn't watching that game, but saw some highlights of that game, and the last few minutes of that game were nuts. So pretty happy with that. Really need Marvin Harrison to step it up. I'll talk it up, or I'll talk about him here later, but he's just super inconsistent, and I've kind of got like 4 or 5 wide receivers that are just always projected like 10 or 11, and it's pretty horrible. So happy for Jalen Waddle. First time I benched him, I think, and he went for 28. So that's great. Now I'm going to start him this week. Probably put J-Mo on my bench, and J-Mo will go off. But anyway, definitely needed the win there. We're not totally out of it yet. You probably have the chance to eliminate me here this week. I don't know for sure, but there's definitely a chance I could get eliminated. So big week coming up, and I'm excited. I don't know. I'm a little nervous for it. I think at the moment you're probably projected by like 10 to beat me, but we'll see what happens. Hopefully Monty gets in and scores 5 touchdowns for you on Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I mean, I would take that if that's going to be the guy that beats me. That's all right. Yeah, I'm not feeling like great or terrible about this one. I think you said I'm probably favored to win. I'm favored by 8.4, it looks like. So it's not like anything massive or anything like that. But yeah, my 2 wide receivers are probably gonna have to carry me, Justin Jefferson and Cooper Kupp. They're the ones that keep producing. And when Justin Jefferson didn't produce last week, my team definitely suffered. So we're gonna need big performances out of them, and we're definitely gonna need Deebo Samuel to bounce us back as well. He's kind of a guy that I was super high on going into the year. I thought I got a steal getting him in the 5th round, and he hasn't been able to really produce even with Ayuk out. So I think those 3 are kind of like the cornerstones of my team right now, my wide receivers. So I'm going to keep riding them throughout the playoffs, and hopefully they can pick me up at least 1 win in these last 2 weeks. But those are probably the key guys I'm looking at for this week to hopefully take over my team.
Definitely. Yeah, and I was looking at the standings. I think you're probably safe if you win 1 more. Is that
that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah. So I don't know. Well, how about you let me win this one, and then you'll beat Dean next week. That's cool.
I beat Dean, man. He's a buzzsaw.
That's true. But yeah, we'll see what happens. I don't know. I still got to make a ton of decisions on all these average wide receivers. But I get Breece Hall back, and I get one other guy. Oh, Drake London back this week. So didn't have either of them last week. So happy to get the win there, and we'll see what happens here. But definitely going to be a big game.
Yep.
Oh, very good, very good. Well, yeah, I guess just around the league too. I mean Barrett, Tanish, Nichols, and then Elgin and Dean. Dean is not going to go away. He's still got that 3% playoff. So shout out to him, 4 in a row. And man, you never know. He's got a chance to finish this out with 6 straight wins, and might slide in there if things go well for him. But we'll see.
Yep. Yeah, definitely shout out to Dean for a big win there. And it was a narrow margin too, only pulling it out by 2.5. So luckily for me, at least, he's still keeping my dreams alive of getting that 3 seed, which would be huge to be on the other side of the bracket from Ron's team and have a better chance of making the finals for a payout. So shout out to Dean there for helping me out a little bit. And then I guess shout out to Barrett as well for winning a game by half a point. Very tough for Tanish. He lost a game to me earlier this year by less than a point, and also to me this year by less than a point in a different league. So I know he's had a lot of fantasy heartbreak this year. So yeah, it really sucks to see that one, but shout out to Barrett making it to 500. He's probably in the same boat as me, where 1 more win's probably going to punch his ticket to the playoffs. So he's in a fantastic spot. And then shout out to Nichols as well. He took care of business in his game against Riley. So Riley's team kind of slipping a little bit with the Godwin and Diggs injuries. So that's definitely been something to watch over these past couple of weeks. And then Nichols' team definitely been on the rise of late. So we'll see if maybe he can backdoor his way into the playoffs. But his team's definitely not going out quietly either.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's pretty awesome. I mean, with Ron and Riley both clinching those playoff spots real early, pretty much everybody else has been in this. So definitely real fun to finish it out. Yeah, I mean, what eight out of the 10 teams are 6-6 or below. So definitely a fun season. Well, very good, very good. Well, let's you want to move on to recapping our what did we do? Start sits last week. I think you went 2-1 against me, so we're gonna keep battling for who takes the lead in that.
Yep. Yeah. So this week we were able to take a 1-game lead on the season, which was huge. The first one was DJ Moore scoring 26.9, which was 26.9 more than Quentin Johnston, who put up 0 on Monday Night Football, which was pretty funny. He even got 5 targets and was able to secure 0 of them. So I think the key takeaway from this was just that Quentin Johnston, is not very good at football. So he's just been in a really good spot all year with his situation in this good offense. But yeah, I don't really see him lasting super long. I wouldn't think from a fantasy relevance standpoint, but maybe he'll have some good matchups coming up later in the year, and maybe he'll be able to score his touchdowns and get those Mike Williams blow up games that we used to see in the past. So, right. And then as for my other win was Michael Pittman Jr. He had 15.6 in Lucas Oil Stadium where we were at, and that was enough to beat Rome Odunze, who had 8.9. I want to say Odunze had 10 targets in this one as well. So just really converted to a lot of fantasy points, which was pretty interesting. All of the Bears receivers really got a ton of volume and a decent amount of fantasy points in this one. I think Odunze was kind of the one that ended up suffering from a fantasy perspective, which kind of ended up sucking for you. I think if you had Keenan Allen, he would have won this one, I want to say. So ended up sneaking that one out. And I remember Michael Pittman too. We were even at the game and you said something about how he had almost like 100 yards. And I was like, that's got to be the quietest 100 yards I feel like I remember. So I feel like that was a sneaky one. It was just like 6 catches for 90 yards. So pretty solid day out of him. So was happy to see that. You can go ahead and take away our tight end battle, I think, though.
Yeah. I'll talk about that in one sec. I just wanted to bring up how I mentioned last week how I was kind of contradicting myself with the wide receivers for the Bears. Like I was like, nah, I don't like Caleb Williams, so I don't like DJ Moore. But then I ended up taking Rome Odunze. Just complete miss by me. pretty rough there. But yeah, was able to get the tight ends out. Hunter Henry had 9.4, and then Sam Laporta had 4.9. Called it. My Colts were shutting him down. They didn't shut anybody else down, but they shut Sam Laporta down. So we'll take it. Hunter Henry, 9 points. I mean, nothing crazy or anything, but he got the job done. So we'll fall 1 game back, and we're not doing any start sits this week, but we'll probably be back with them next week, and I'll look to go 2-1 there and tie it back up.
Yeah, we'll see about that. But the one thing I was thinking was it's been crazy to see how like all of the touchdowns from Montgomery and Gibbs have just been killing Laporta this whole season. I feel like from a standpoint, like I mean, if he got a touchdown on top of his 4.9 or whatever, I mean, he's going to beat Hunter Henry and give me a point, and then that's double digits, and you're happy at the end of the day. But we just haven't seen those games where he scores touchdowns, and he had double digit last year as a rookie, so definitely didn't expect to see that coming into the second year. But we'll see what transpires over these last few weeks because I expect this offense to keep scoring, so we'll see if he can get a little more involved.
For sure. Yeah, it's kind of sucked with Laporta. I don't think I drafted him in any fantasy leagues, but he was probably like the number 2 tight end. Like when we were drafting.
One. I mean,
maybe 1. Yeah.
Maybe Kelsey went before him in our draft and some other drafts too.
Like real close, probably. Yeah. I don't know. That's tough for Laporta, but I mean, obviously, if you have any other lines, you're probably doing really well. So,
facts.
All right. Well, let's go. We'll start recapping our love hates. We're keeping it short this week, so I guess I'll go through real quick. I loved Anthony Richardson at 16. He finished as the 21st quarterback. Put up 13 points. It was rough. Like I said earlier, a lot of things did not go my way this week. It was tough watching the Colts there in the stadium. Not much was happening there. We had a ton of penalties, had a ton of drops. Like the tight ends had like, I don't even know how many drops. I feel like I can remember like 4 off the top of my head. But definitely was not helping him out. Then I loved Vlad McConkey at 17. He finished as the 20th. So still below that. And then I liked Tyrone Tracy at, I believe, 20 and no 19, and he finished as the 23rd running back. So kind of missed on all those, not by a ton, but definitely was not what I was expecting.
Yep. Yeah, my loves weren't too fantastic either. Both weren't terrible, but I loved Herbert at QB 6 and he finished as QB 12. So yeah, I feel like that game just wasn't as it still was high scoring, but I feel like the passing game for the Chargers really just wasn't there like I expected. So him as well as all the other pass catchers kind of suffered. So a lot of our picks suffered with Herbert and the best bet with Herbert and then Quentin Johnston too for you on the start sit. So yeah, tough week for us with picking all those Chargers there, and Herbert suffered as well. And then I loved Kyron Williams, I believe, at 14, and he finished as 18. So he had a solid day, and he even had a fumble. So if he had not fumbled, he would have finished a few spots higher, maybe about RB 14. But yeah, once again, another game, back-to-back ones with no targets for him. So that's kind of crazy to see. And yeah, no wonder Riley's team's been slipping these last few games with Kyron Williams' level of fantasy output. I still have high hopes for him the rest of the year, I guess, but we'll see if he can turn it around because Riley's team's definitely going to need him with how shorthanded he is right now.
Definitely.
And yeah, I guess my last one, the hate actually did end up working out. It was a snow game, and there was actually almost a deep ball that almost killed me on this one. So this very well could have blown up in my face. But I hated George Pickens at wide receiver 10, and he finished as wide receiver 45 with 8.8. But he definitely played a very good game for the weather conditions, and there were one or two deep balls probably that he could have had that would have turned this into a fantastic day. So ended up working out, but the process on that one maybe wasn't all the way there.
Hey, it was a good read. I mean, you were calling it about how the weather's going to be bad. I mean, we filmed it 2 days beforehand. So you made some really good calls there. But yeah, I still remember that Pickens touchdown. I mean, he was wide open in the end zone. Probably with like 5 minutes left in the game. And then Russ just straight up missed him. So definitely helped you out there. But I feel like you've been pretty good with the hates. Feel like you've had some good reads there lately.
I know. Maybe I need to do all hates because I feel like I do a lot of loves and they definitely don't hit as often. So maybe I should switch up the strategy a little bit after Thanksgiving.
Fair. Yeah, maybe I need to follow in your footsteps. I haven't had any hates in a while, and I'm not gonna have any hates this week either. So, well, with that being said, I guess I'll start us off first. My first one is loving Rico Dowdle at 25. He the reason I took him here, so 25 first of all is just way too low in my opinion. He's the lead back. I don't think like Zeke really is not competing with him for carries. And despite fumbling last week, like I know he fumbled, but I'm still really not nervous about that. This game is really gross to say the least. It's a Thanksgiving game. They play the Giants, so both quarterbacks for this team are a little rough, and yeah, I'm a little nervous with both defenses kind of just loading the box and making the quarterbacks beat them. But with that being said, the Giants defense ranks 30th, and they give up 148 yards per game. Last 3 games, they've given up 165 yards to running backs. So really love the matchup here. And for as good a matchup it is, 25 just seems too low to me.
Yeah. I don't know if I'm super high on this one, I guess, because I have doubt on. I already said that I'm a little nervous about starting him, but yeah, I totally agree. Like he's a starting running back on a team, like I said, that showed some improvement last week. So we'll see if they can, I guess, continue to get the offense rolling. I have no doubt that Rico Dowdle is going to get a huge workload in this offense. It's just really how that's going to translate to like efficient fantasy points, I guess, is yet to be seen.
Yep. Yeah, I've got some other opinions, but I'll share them after my next love. So who you got for your next one or for your first one?
Perfect. I'll love another running back, and he's a running back that I think you've been pretty fond of over the length of our podcast. It's going to be Bucky Irving this week against Carolina, who's ranked at RB 23 this week. I feel like we've said it time and time again, a lot of times on these love hates. The Panthers are a great matchup for running backs. They've given up the most points to running backs on the year. And then as for just Bucky Irving in general, he is so much better than Rachaad White. It's really crazy how this workload is still like 50-50 split between the two of them. Last week, Bucky Irving had 12 carries for 87 yards. Rachaad White had 12 carries for 37 yards. So a difference of 50 yards on the same amount of carries. And then Rachaad White was also able to bring in 6 receptions. I keep saying it backwards. Bucky Irving was able to
Bucky.
bring in 6 receptions for 64 yards. And Rachaad White was only able to bring in 1 for 10 yards. So all that just to say, Bucky Irving's been way more efficient, way better on the ground, way better in the passing game than Rachaad White. It's only a matter of time before he continues to get more work. And I believe maybe that time is now with this great matchup. And then also, I think this offense is really just going to roll in this game. It should be a great game script for running backs. And the news actually also broke today that Baker's dad stole like $12 million from him. So this offense is going to be cooking. I am ready for Bucky Irving to get into the end zone at least once in this one.
Yeah, man, I got nothing much to add. Geez, I can't talk either. Bucky's significantly better than White. And then yeah, you mentioned the receiving yards too. I think he led all running backs last week with receiving yards. So definitely a big play there. And I mentioned earlier, I'll be playing Bucky in some other fantasy leagues. So love the pick.
Yep. Yeah, good little nugget of information there with the receiving yards. I didn't know he led last week.
Yeah. Yep. Well, going into my second one, we're gonna love another running back, and we're gonna stick with that Cowboys-Giants game. We're going loving Tyrone Tracy at 23. Loved him last week. Didn't get the job done, but I'm sticking with him. The identical scenario to Dowdle. Little scared here with both teams loading the box up and this game just being super gross. But I'm just hoping for run, and then gross, punt. I don't know what's going to happen in this game, but again, Dallas is 31st rush lead. They give up 150 per game, so really good matchup again for him. Tyrone did fumble again last week too, and that's been a little bit of concern for him. But this guy is very talented, and I expect him to continue to get carries. So loving him at 23.
Yeah, I agree with that pick. And you actually brought up the fumbles, which is kind of interesting because he's a converted wide receiver, I believe, right? So probably not.
Oh, is he really?
Yeah, I think he was a wide receiver until before his last year at Purdue, and then he switched to running back, I want to say.
Okay, nice.
So fumbles probably aren't super surprising because that's probably something he's not used to, I guess. So it's probably something the Giants expect, and I don't think he's probably going to get penalized a ton for it. So yeah, I still like the pick. Unless it becomes something like super excessive like every single game for a while, then maybe. But yeah, I like the pick. Other than it's kind of funny that you keep going back to this game. I don't know if this is gonna be a fantastic one. I remember telling you like I was super happy that there was a crappy game so I could spend time with my family for once. So
hey, if you think I'm done there, hold your horses. I'm coming back to it later. So
oh boy. All right. I can't wait. All right. Well, at least let me take it to maybe a game that should be high scoring and more interesting. I'm going to love Dallas Goedert this week against Baltimore. He's at tight end 15. And the reason I really love him so much this week is because, like I said, it's supposed to be a super high scoring game this week. And for tight ends, I'm really just trying to find someone that I think is going to score a touchdown. And I think he's probably going to be a good candidate for that, even though that logic didn't work super well for Laporta last week. The game this week between Philadelphia and Baltimore, the over-under is 50.5. So I believe it's the highest on the slate this week. And then as for the matchup, the Ravens have allowed top 10 fantasy points to tight ends on the year. So we've talked about a bunch how they're a fantastic matchup for wide receivers as they've given up the most points, but for tight ends, they still give up a decent amount of points as well. So I'm expecting Dallas Goedert to maybe get a handful of receptions, get involved in the offense, and then hopefully score a touchdown as well to really seal this one as a top 14 tight end.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, honestly, if he scores like 10 points, he's probably above that number. So definitely really like that pick.
Yeah, bar is not super high for tight ends on a weekly basis.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'll be rooting for you this week, following all our picks last week, going against this Ravens defense. So maybe our luck will turn around.
Yeah, we need a little revenge on that logic. So we'll see if we can get it going.
There we go. I like it. Well, last one, we're going with a player on my team. We're going loving Marvin Harrison at 30. I just think that this is really low in general for a guy that talented. I mean, he has not been good. Like, he's been super inconsistent. I think he's the number 29 wide receiver overall this year in fantasy. But the matchup's good. We've talked about a lot how the Vikings aren't that great in their pass defense. Now that's a little skewed because most of the time they've been up, but I kind of imagine the same scenario here. I'm hoping the Vikings can kind of just stay ahead of the Cardinals all game and they'll be passing. And I kind of like Kyler anyways here too. But just looking at Marv's stat lines, I mean, I feel like it's almost always like he'll have two crappy games and then he'll score like a 50-yard touchdown. And I'm kind of just thinking he's due here with a good matchup. So hopefully he can get in the end zone. And obviously do well for my fantasy team here. So we're gonna love him at 30.
Gotcha. Yeah, he's one of the stable pieces on one of my other main teams, so I'll be rooting for him a little bit this week. But yeah, hopefully he spares me a little bit in our league. I really like him this week, though. I think this is a great bounce back spot for him after a rough performance last week. Should be a great game script. He should be playing from behind. I expect the Vikings offense to be able to move the ball better this week, as I feel like over the past month their offense hasn't been great, but the Cardinals offense really shouldn't be someone that's going to stop them. So I think this should be a great bounce back spot for him. And then hopefully also a bounce back spot for the Cardinals passing offense as a whole.
Definitely. Yeah. And I wasn't watching the game last week, but I think Marv had like a 40-yard touchdown get called back too. So
really?
I mean, if you look at his stat line last week and it was horrible, but in reality it could have been a lot better. So hopefully no touchdowns get called back this week and he's able to get it done for me.
Gotcha. All right, I guess to wrap it up here, I've actually got a hate this week, like I said. We'll see if we can keep the momentum going on the hates, but I'm going to hate T. Higgins this week against Pittsburgh. He's actually a wide receiver 8 on ESPN's rankings, which I don't even really hate. Yeah, I don't even really hate.
Holy moly.
Yeah, so I was going to say, I don't even really hate T. Higgins this week. I just saw 8, and I'm like, wow, that's very, very high. Just because the Steelers are not a good matchup for wide receivers. They've given up the 6th least fantasy points to wide receivers this year, so that's obviously a little scary to begin with. And then I think this game just probably won't follow the typical game script that we've seen out of Bengals games this year, where they just have to throw constantly the entire time, which is really inflating a lot of their wide receivers' fantasy points. So I think the Steelers defense will keep them in check and not really allow that to happen. And then just the last little piece of info I had here was that kind of similar to Quentin Johnston that I talked about last week being so dependent on touchdowns, T. Higgins' most points scored in a game this year without a touchdown is 14. So I really feel like he just doesn't have like a super solid floor that you see out of like wide receivers up in that range. Like you see him next to like AJ Brown and Cooper Kupp and Justin Jefferson. Like I'm not ranking him next to those guys this week, and that's the reason I'm hating him.
Sure. Yeah, 8. I can't believe he's at 8. I mean, I just pulled up his stats this season. I mean, he's been a lot better than I thought he was. But yeah, I mean, 8 is just way too high for me too. I forget what I was going to say. I think like the over-under was like 46.5 for that game, which I thought was a little bit high, just in the fact that like I don't think the Steelers are able to score that many points. But then again, the Bengals D kind of sucks. But I can kind of picture the Bengals taking control of this game. So maybe they're not throwing as much, and maybe they're feeding Chase Brown. Not too much though. I think you've got him on your fantasy team. So.
Feed Chase Brown.
Yeah, I got you. But yeah, well, maybe he finishes like top 15. I don't even know what I'm saying here. I like the pick.
Appreciate it. Yeah, it's funny you brought up the over-under. I was actually thinking the same thing, I think. Like when I saw it was 46.5, I was like, that seems really high for an AFC North divisional game, but
right.
I don't think I'm going to bet the under though. Just like knowing the Bengals offense, and then we've seen the Steelers offense have some good games this year. The Commanders just off the top of my head for sure. So I'd be a little worrisome of betting on them for an under game too.
Yeah, you're not going to catch me betting an under with the Bengals in the game. Yeah. Offense is way too good, defense is way too bad. But
absolutely,
let's see. We'll see if your hates keep on doing well for you.
Yep, let's do it.
Very good, very good. Well, lastly, let's go to our best bets. I'll let you kick it off because you had a pretty good week last week with the best bets.
Yes, we did. Yeah, a good week for the best bets last week. And I'll just say real quick, we're just not doing trivia this week. We got a Thanksgiving episode, so just an abbreviated one. So we'll skip on that one for this week, and we'll bring it back next time around. But as for my best bets this week, we went 3-0, like I said. The first one, our player prop was Anthony Richardson over 39.5 rushing yards, which, I mean, this almost hit by the time we hit our seats at the game. On the first drive, I think he had like 35-ish rushing yards out of those 40. So that was awesome to see. Like I said, we hadn't even gotten to our seats yet. It was like more than half. It was on the first drive. So he got quickly to work, and that was good to see. Our second one here was Buccaneers -6.5 against the Giants, which I can't believe I got this at +112. They stomped them, and just like I thought, that there was a little bit too much Tommy DeVito hype, I think, coming into this. I don't even think he was the best healthy quarterback on his roster even after Daniel Jones was cut. So head-scratching decision, and I definitely did not think the Giants were going to keep this one close. So shout out to Baker Mayfield. I feel like he's been covering for me all year, and little foreshadowing, we're going to be counting on him again this upcoming week. But going on to our last one from last week, we had the Ravens -3 against the Chargers on Monday night, and they ended up pulling it out. It didn't even really end up being a sweat. The final score, they ended up winning by 7, but it wasn't even that close. They had this thing firmly in control before the Chargers scored right before the end. So good bet there, and I'm glad I didn't put this down to 2.5, or I would have lost like $1 or $2. So happy to put it at -3, and then we'll take a 3-0 week. We'll see if we can maybe follow that up with another 3-0 week and get back to positive money, but don't want to get too ahead of ourselves here. We haven't had a whole lot of positive weeks on our log, so we gotta keep it in check.
There we go. Yeah, I was lucky enough to tail you on all 3 of these. So those were some awesome picks. I'm hoping you didn't tail me on mine, because I went 0-3, and it was kind of rough. We'll start it off, and I should preface, went 0-3 with 2 1.5 unit plays too. So it was not ideal. We started off with Gibbs 50 rushing yards and Monty 40 rushing yards parlay. 1.5 units. Gibbs killed it. Monty finished at 37. Got hurt in the fourth quarter. Just never came back in. So that was definitely hard to see, especially since they were just feeding Gibbs like basically the whole fourth quarter since they were winning. But we'll move on to the next one. Then Texans -4.5 first half. They ended up losing to the Titans. I mean, we did say we weren't confident in the Texans covering the full spread. I think maybe you mentioned you thought about it, but we're like, no. Well, they didn't get the first half done either. Breaks their streak of, I don't even know what it was, like something crazy on the first half spread. So bad read there. And then Justin Herbert over his passing yards really just never really got going. I mean, the first drive he had a good amount, but like at halftime, I think he was somewhere around 100. Finished with like 215. I was still in it. Like I was hoping for it, like the last 2 drives, just them being down, but they just couldn't get it going in the second half. So another bad read there. So we're gonna move on from that. But I'll let you. Yeah, what's up?
I was gonna say we're ready to bounce back. We got
Exactly.
How many, 2 or 3 winners coming up from you this week?
Yeah, you got 3 and I got 2, and we're actually joining each other on one of them. So I'll let you start off with that one if you want.
Okay, yeah. So we got a joint 2-leg parlay this upcoming week. I think this was first crafted in the car driving back from Indianapolis. I whipped this up, so hopefully this ends up panning out. I am a little bit nervous though to say up front, because the Lions have so many question marks and injuries that it could maybe not look as good as I originally thought if a lot of those guys are out, but we'll see. We're going to stay optimistic and stick with Lions 6.5 against the Bears, parlayed with the Packers -2. It's 2.5, right, against the Dolphins. I have a typo in mind. So yeah, Lions -6.5, Packers -2.5 parlay. I really like the Lions this week. Obviously, the Bears have been they've been bouncing back a little bit with their new look offense. But I still like how the Lions have been playing a lot, and I think that they shouldn't have any trouble with the Bears, especially at home. They should be hungry to break this 8-game-in-a-row Thanksgiving losing streak. I know Dan Campbell's aware of it, and I know he's going to be ready to break it. And then as for the Packers, they perform really well, I feel like, in primetime games every time I watch them. So I have no doubts that they're probably going to play up to the standard of the primetime game. And then as for the Dolphins, kind of the easy cop-out answer is that they usually don't play well when they have to play in cold weather, which they're going to be facing in Green Bay. So I just think the Packers should be favored by a little more in this one. I feel like at home in a cold weather game. So I have no problem laying the points on them at 2.5. I think they are 3.5 though for the actual line. But yeah, parlayed with the Lions, that gets you up to +160. So no problems there to take them at 2.5.
Yeah. Bought the point down in the Packers game, and then bought three, maybe 3.5 points at the Lions. I really love the Lions pick. Like you said, I mean, they're going to be hungry to get this going. And honestly, I'm not really worried with who they got out. This team is a wagon. I'll hype you up a little bit. Been looking at Super Bowl props, and like haven't pulled the trigger yet, but I mean, this team, I do not anticipate anybody beating them. Maybe like me and my dad were talking about it. It's like who are you betting on when they play the Lions? Like, does that make sense? Like I'm not betting against the Lions against any team in the NFL. So to get them down under a touchdown, really love that. Bears aren't that great. And then the Packers, another team that I've been really high on. I am a little bit worried. Tua, I think he's like thrown like 11 touchdowns and only one interception in his 4 games that he's been back. But another great call there. They don't play well in the winter in the cold, so pretty excited about that one. And we got the 2.5 there. So definitely really excited about this one and with the plus odds. So hopefully we can bring my record back up a little bit. It's
Oh, yeah.
it's definitely hurting.
Yeah, sorry for being a downer. Lions are kicking their ass.
There we go. There we go. I love it. Well, I only got one more. So since you got two, you wanna give your next one?
Yeah, I guess that works out too because I'm sticking with the Lions game here. I'm taking DJ Moore over 52.5 receiving yards in this one. I really like all the Bears overs in receiving yards in this one. I think Odunze's like low 40s and Keenan's like mid to high 40s. So DJ Moore is the highest of the three, and I do like all of them. The only reason I ended up landing on DJ Moore was because he's just the best receiver of all three of them. And he's actually the only one of the three of them that's hit their like the receiving total for this week, each of the last 2 games with the new offensive coordinator. So that was kind of just like the tiebreaker for me. But just saying, I do like all of them. I'm going to lock this one in, though. I think DJ Moore is the best of the bunch. Lions are very banged up, like I said, especially at the cornerback position. So if Carlton Davis is out, we could be in some trouble. I think Terry and Arnold's supposed to be back, our first round pick. So that should help, but we're still going to be banged up overall. And then always I'm just picking stuff against the Lions. They have only given up 6 points in each of the last 2 games. So defense has looked very phenomenal. But I still feel like I've seen some people put up some good fantasy scores against them in this time. I mean, we already talked about Pittman earlier. So I don't think it's impossible for DJ Moore to have a fantastic day. And I mean, 52.5 yards is not even that impressive for him. So I love that pick this week, even though it's against my team.
Yeah, I don't know what I would have set his line at, but I do feel like that's kind of low. And then yeah, you're sticking with that trend, betting on receivers against the line. So we'll see how it goes. Now, in general, I do like the pick. We mentioned kind of that new offense. And I've got him in a couple fantasy leagues, so I've paid a little bit more attention to him, but that 52.5 seems low. So I'll be riding with you on that one.
Yep. And I guess I forgot to say too, on DraftKings, I think he was at 55.5, and on FanDuel where I got him, he was 52.5. So even a little bit of a discount. So DraftKings would even agree it should be a little higher. And I agree with you. I think it should be even higher than 55.5. So hopefully it ends up hitting and it isn't lower than 52.5, or else I'll look a little dumb for saying it should be like in the 60s.
No, I'm with you. I'll be riding, but we'll close it out with me. So I only got 2 best bets, or I'm not closing out. You got one more, but my last one, hinted at it earlier. We're going back to the Cowboys Giants game. It's gross. It's nasty. We're doing it. Dowdle and Tyrone Tracy each run for 50 rushing yards. Got this at -103. Both of them have hit this number in 3 of the last 4 games. But I mean, in general, already talked about it a little bit earlier. Love these guys overall in fantasy this week. But they both just have such good matchups. If they do end up facing some loaded boxes, I might be in trouble. But both their lines are in the mid to high 60s. So I really like them to both get 50 here. And we're gonna rock with it. Thanksgiving Day, Tyrone and Dowdle, 50 plus. Let's get it.
Yeah, you better hope, man. Everything's gonna be riding on these 2 guys. So we'll see if they can pull through for you.
I like it. Well, who
Right.
you got with your last one?
Yeah, I guess that brings me into my last pick here. And we're going to run it back with the Buccaneers and run it back with them -6.5. This week, I think I already brought it up with the Bucky Irving pick, but they're playing Carolina. I think the Buccaneers should just have no problems with this. They looked really good coming out of the bye last week against the Giants, so I expect that to keep going. I will say, though, the Panthers have looked really solid, I think, over the last stretch of games. They were almost able to beat the Chiefs, actually, even though they probably never really had a true chance in that one. They were coming from behind a little bit, but they only lost by 3 nonetheless. So shout out to them for playing some pretty good football, but I don't think the Buccaneers should have a problem with them. Baker keeps it rolling. He's going to be pissed at his dad. Let's get it.
He's going to say he's going to be mad. Whole offense, he's going to get them fired up. Love the pick. Panthers, I mean, like you said, their offense actually hasn't been horrible. And then and like Chuba's been pretty good, but I mean Bucks shouldn't have a problem with this one. Yeah, what's that's like you probably taken Bucks like maybe 2 or 3 times in the past month or so. So let's keep it riding. I'll be rocking with you. I was also looking at that one too. But you had me beat to it, so I love it. I'll be riding with you.
Respect. Yeah, and I was trying to look it up. I didn't think about it and have time to actually find it before the pod, but I was trying to find what the Buccaneers record is against the spread this year, because I feel like it's got to be pretty good. And I've had to have taken them like a good, I don't know, 3 times at least, and I feel like it's hit every single time I've taken them. So shout out to Baker and company for getting it done in the best bet segment.
Yeah, I'll tell you the record against the spread it's surprisingly only 6-5.
Wow.
So,
Okay. Well, I guess
yeah.
I just keep picking them at the right times then whenever I go for them. I just feel like every time I have them, they end up hitting them. So
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I mean, this is also off my Bleacher Report app. Sometimes they're a little off, and like lines will close like at a different number than what they have it at. So they very well could be maybe 7-4 against the spread, but I like it. I did want to call out. So I just did get a notification. Chiefs are planning to rotate with Kareem Hunt and Isaiah Pacheco. So I know we talked about that earlier. Definitely be something to watch for as we get in these fantasy playoffs, and hopefully one of them can become a guy you can start later down the road.
yeah, I think Pacheco coming back at this time is honestly great timing. I think it gives him like the 2 weeks to really secure his role as the workhorse again. I don't know if we'll see him be like maybe the 80 to 90% snap guy that I thought I was drafting at the beginning of the year when I said he was my guy. But I mean, even if he can still get like 60 to 70% and get a lot of that goal line work away from Kareem Hunt, I still think he'll be a great player for fantasy. And that's kind of more of what I'm hoping, I guess, that he's able to by week 15, that he's able to be like the true number one, at least even in this offense, even if it isn't like a workhorse like we expected when Carson Steele and CDH were the backups. So
yeah, get those guys out of there. We don't need those guys anymore.
No, we need him back as the backup, so Pacheco gets all the touches.
Fair. I like it. Well, very good. Well, yeah, that's gonna wrap up our episode this week. Like we said, keeping it a little shorter for Thanksgiving. But you got any closing comments you wanna say?
I don't think so. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone. Enjoy the football. I'm super excited. I'm barely going to be able to sleep these next 2 nights, just thinking about the Lions. So
there we go. Yeah, happy Thanksgiving. Go Lions. Go Colts as always. And then good luck to you. Good luck to you this week in fantasy. Big matchup here. But we'll be back next week with the normal schedule. And good luck to everyone in the Shovel Mitch League. We'll see you next week.